In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is...
My sister ruined my 3-year relationship and now she's crying because I excluded her from my wedding. The final confrontation that set my life free. When Daniel proposed to me, I felt that my life was finally finding its path. We had been together for 4 years and he represented everything I had always looked for in a partner. Understanding, kind, patient, and with a great sense of humor. Our relationship meant a new beginning after going through complicated years with family and trust issues. So as I started planning our wedding, I was determined that it would be a day full of joy, love, and, above all, peace of mind. Little did I know that my mother had very different plans. I come from a complicated family. It's not obviously dysfunctional like the kind that have screaming arguments over Thanksgiving dinner, but more the kind that hides problems under the rug. My mother is someone who hates conflict so much that ironically she ends up creating it by trying to force everyone to get along. She makes you feel guilty, she cries, and she manipulates, all with the excuse of maintaining family harmony. This situation started because of my older sister, Sarah. We were close during our childhood, but everything changed drastically in my 3rd year of university. At that time, I was going out with a guy called Derek. He was my first serious boyfriend and the kind of person I imagined spending the rest of my life with. We were together for 3 years, and we were even talking about getting engaged after I graduated. I was young, naive, and I trusted him completely. That trust was shattered when I discovered that Sarah had been intimate with him behind my back. For how long? I have no idea. But it wasn't just a one-night stand. It was a full-blown relationship. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself, but Sarah's reaction when I confronted her. She didn't deny it, she didn't apologize. She just shrugged her shoulders and said something like, "Well, if he cheated on you, maybe you weren't enough for him." I will never forget those words. I cut her out of my life that very day, and we haven't spoken since. Derek and I broke up, of course, but the damage Sarah did to my confidence and self-esteem persisted for much longer. My mother, however, interpreted the situation completely differently. She treated the whole thing as if it were a simple, childish quarrel between sisters, as if Sarah and I had argued over a borrowed sweater or something similar. Men make mistakes, she used to say. Sisters shouldn't hold grudges. I tried to explain how deeply I had been hurt, but she dismissed my feelings, saying I was exaggerating and that family is forever. In time, I realized she would never take my side, so I stopped bringing it up. I concentrated on building my own life away from Sarah. Fast forward to the present. Daniel and I were planning our wedding, and I was really excited to celebrate this important moment with the people who truly care about us. We kept the guest list small, around 80 people, and I had no intention of inviting Sarah. She was no longer part of my life, and I wasn't going to let her ruin this special day. But as soon as my mother found out about the engagement, she started putting pressure on me. "Are you going to invite Sarah?" she asked, as if it were obvious. When I said no, her reaction was immediate. She gasped, looked at me as if I had just told her I was going to cancel Christmas, and exclaimed, "You can't do that, she's your sister." I calmly tried to explain my reasons, but she refused to accept them. She started with her usual tactics to make me feel guilty, saying things like, "How do you think this will leave the family? And do you really want to create more drama by excluding her?" The irony of that last sentence did not go unnoticed by me. I assured her that I wouldn't change my mind, but she wouldn't give in. Over the next few weeks, the calls and text messages were relentless. She even got some aunts and cousins involved to try to convince me. They sent me passive-aggressive messages like, "It would mean a lot to Grandma to see the whole family together," or "You don't want to regret this later in life." I reached my limit when Mom threatened not to attend the wedding if I didn't invite Sarah. She presented it as not wanting to take sides, but it was clear that she was trying to manipulate me. It hurt more than I expected. I love my mother, even if she drives me crazy sometimes, and the idea of her not being there broke my heart. However, I couldn't allow her to intimidate me into doing something that would ruin my day. Daniel was incredibly understanding throughout this process. He assured me that it was my decision and that if my mother couldn't respect my boundaries, that was her problem, not mine. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I told my mother that I would consider inviting Sarah just to get her off my back temporarily, but instead of sending an invitation to Sarah, I sent her a letter. I explained everything as clearly and honestly as possible. I described how deeply her betrayal had hurt me and how it had affected my ability to trust people. I explained that my wedding was about celebrating love, trust, and happiness, and that having her there would only bring back painful memories. I also made it clear that this wasn't about holding a grudge, but about protecting my peace of mind. I told her that I didn't hate her, but I didn't feel close to her either, and I saw no point in pretending otherwise just to keep up appearances. Sarah didn't take it well. She sent me a series of angry text messages accusing me of being petty and immature. She claimed that I was forcing the family to take sides, and that I was allowing an old mistake to ruin our relationship. Mom, as expected, sided with Sarah. She called me in tears, saying that Sarah was devastated, and that I was tearing the family apart. She even said something like, "What kind of person excludes their own sister from their wedding?" At that point, I felt emotionally drained. I told Mom that I would not discuss the matter any further, and that my decision was final. She didn't like that answer and continued to try to make me feel guilty, but I stopped responding. It wasn't worth the stress. The wedding day arrived and, honestly, it was perfect. Sarah didn't attend, and although Mom turned her back on me for much of the day, I didn't let that ruin anything. I was surrounded by people who loved and supported me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Daniel and I had a wonderful time, and looking back, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Now that the wedding is over, the consequences have begun. Sarah has been posting passive-aggressive and vague comments on social media about family betrayal and how some people never get over the past. Mom continues to send me long text messages about how disappointed she is in me and how she has never seen Sarah so affected. Some relatives have even contacted me to tell me that they think I made the wrong decision. Part of me feels guilty, but another part knows that I did what was best for my own mental health. I have spent years rebuilding my self-esteem and confidence after what Sarah did, and I wasn't going to let her ruin one of the most important days of my life. But now I can't help but wonder, am I wrong? Should I have invited her to avoid all this drama? Was it selfish to prioritize my own feelings, even if it meant upsetting my family? Update 1. Several days have passed since my publication, and I have been surprised by the responses. Thank you very much for taking the time to read my story and share your opinions. I have read every comment, and, honestly, it has been truly enlightening. Some shared similar experiences that helped me feel less alone in this situation. For those who think I was too harsh, I also understand your perspective. It's complicated, and I appreciate all the opinions. Since the wedding, things have continued to simmer, and honestly, I feel caught in an endless conflict. My mother has not backed down at all. If anything, she has intensified her disappointment. I received a long email from her 2 days ago, and it was really shocking. She said that she was still heartbroken about the whole situation, and went on to emphasize how I have caused a division in the family. The message was full of phrases like, "I don't even recognize you anymore," and "This is not the daughter I raised." She also mentioned Sarah's feelings again, pointing out how much I have hurt her and how she is apparently devastated by having been excluded. The tone of the email combined guilt with emotional manipulation. He repeatedly mentioned how I was losing sleep over the whole thing and how I had been receiving calls from family members concerned about my behavior. Honestly, I felt like he was trying to portray me as some kind of villain who deliberately wants to hurt Sarah and the whole family. Nothing could be further from the truth. After reading it, I stood motionless in front of my laptop for a long time, trying to decide how to respond. Part of me wanted to fight back and defend myself, but another part knew it would be useless. My mother has always been like that. Once she forms an idea, it is impossible to change her mind. I thought that would be the end of it for now, but I was wrong. Mom forwarded my email to Sarah. How did I know? Because Sarah replied directly to me with another long email that was even worse than Mom's. Yesterday, she posted another cryptic message on Facebook about how people show their true nature when they think they've won. Some mutual relatives commented things like, "You're better off without toxic people," and "Some people just don't know how to handle a strong woman." It's obvious who they're referring to, and it's exhausting. Meanwhile, my mom has been playing both sides as usual. She still talks to me, but our conversations are tense and awkward. She keeps bringing up Sarah in subtle ways with comments like, "I had coffee with Sarah yesterday and she's really hurting," or, "I just wish you could see how much this is hurting her." It's like he's constantly trying to make me feel guilty so that I'll reach out, but I'm not falling for it. I've been polite but firm, reminding him that I'm not ready to reconcile and that he needs to respect my boundaries, although whether he will remains to be seen. One of the most difficult parts of this situation is the mixed reactions from the extended family. Some people have reached out privately to support me, saying they understand why I made this decision and that I shouldn't feel guilty. Others have sided with Sarah, either directly or indirectly, by sharing those passive-aggressive posts on social media or making derogatory comments during group family conversations. I feel like everyone has an opinion on something that is really none of their business. The most surprising thing about all this is how little I miss Sarah. You would think that after years of estrangement, a major event like a wedding would spark some desire for reconnection, but it hasn't. If anything, this whole mess has only confirmed that I made the right decision to cut her out of my life. She has repeatedly shown me that she is not willing to take responsibility for her actions or to respect my feelings, and I am tired of trying to force a relationship with someone who does not care about the damage she has caused. That said, I cannot pretend that this situation has not been emotionally exhausting. I'm tired of feeling like I have to justify my decisions to everyone. I'm tired of being portrayed as the villain just because I chose to prioritize my own happiness and well-being. And I'm tired of my mother treating Sarah's feelings as if they matter more than mine. At this point, I'm not even sure how to continue my relationship with her. I don't want to cut it off completely, but if she keeps pushing, I might not have a choice. So here I am now. I'm standing by my decision, but the consequences have been harder to deal with than I expected. I try to focus on the positive, my marriage, my friends who support me, and the life Daniel and I are building together, but the family drama is still a dark cloud hanging over everything. Update 2. It's been a real whirlwind since my last update. I thought things might calm down after a few days, but instead they've escalated in unexpected ways. Honestly, I feel like I'm in the middle of a soap opera I didn't sign up for. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my sanity while navigating this chaos. The first thing that happened was a surprise package from Sarah. I wasn't expecting it at all, so when I saw her name on the return label, I felt a knot in my stomach. For a second, I considered not even opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small photo album. The letter was long, several pages, and to my surprise, it didn't express anger. Instead, it was a strange mixture of apology and justification. She began by saying that she regretted how things had turned out between us, and that she was sorry for the pain she had caused me. But then she went on to explain her side of the story, claiming that she was going through a dark period when the infidelity occurred and that she did not fully understand the consequences of her actions. She wrote about how she always felt that she had lived in my shadow during our childhood and how Derek had given her the attention she craved. It was almost as if she was trying to make me feel sorry for her. The letter ended by expressing her hope that we could put the past behind us and start afresh. The photo album was even stranger. It was full of photographs of us when we were children, holidays, birthdays, everyday moments. Some made me smile, but most just made me sad. It seemed as if Sarah was trying to remind me of the bond we used to have, but instead, it just highlighted how distant we had become. I don't know if it was an olive branch or another attempt at manipulation, but either way, it left me with mixed feelings. I showed the letter to Daniel, who was cautious about the whole thing. He reminded me that, while it is good to acknowledge Sarah's feelings, I don't owe her anything, especially if I'm not ready to reconcile. He suggested that I take time to process it before deciding whether or not to respond, which was excellent advice. For now, the letter and the album remain in a drawer. I'm still not sure what to do with them. While I was still reflecting on Sarah's package, things took another turn. My mother decided to intensify her campaign in the most dramatic way possible. She called a family intervention. I wish she was joking. She sent a group message to me, Sarah, and several relatives, saying she wanted us all to meet at her house to sort things out like adults. I didn't even know how to respond. The idea of sitting in a room with Sarah and a group of people who had already taken sides felt like walking into an ambush. When I informed Mom that I would not be attending, she lost control. She called me immediately, crying and begging me to reconsider. She repeated phrases like, "We are a family, and families don't turn their backs on each other." I tried to explain again that I wasn't ready for that kind of confrontation, and that forcing it would only make things worse, but she wouldn't listen. She said she was doing this for my own good, and that I needed to stop being so stubborn. In the end, I didn't go. I spent that afternoon with Daniel, trying to distract myself. But the consequences of not showing up for the intervention were brutal. Mom called me afterwards to let me know without a doubt how disappointed she was. She said that everyone else had attended, even Sarah, and that my absence showed that I was the one keeping the family divided. She accused me of being selfish and unwilling to move forward, and hung up before I could respond. As if that weren't bad enough, I started getting messages from some of the relatives who did attend. One cousin wrote to me saying, "You should have been there." It was really healing for Sarah. An aunt sent me a long message about how I was being stubborn and cruel by refusing to give Sarah the opportunity to apologize in person. Apparently, Sarah cried during the meeting and talked about how much she missed me and wanted to make things right. Some family members are now acting like she is the victim, and I am the heartless one for not allowing her back into my life. I can't even describe how frustrating this all is. It's like nobody cares about my feelings or experiences. They're so focused on this perfect idea of family unity that they're willing to sweep anything under the rug no matter how deep the betrayal. They've labeled me the villain just for standing up for myself, and it's exhausting. At this point, I feel like I'm completely losing my relationship with my mother. She has gone from disappointed to completely cold. She barely speaks to me, and when she does, it's curt and passive-aggressive. She even canceled the lunch we had planned last week, claiming she wasn't feeling well. But I know it was because she was upset with me. It hurts. But I try to remind myself that her behavior reflects her own issues, not mine. The one positive in all of this has been the support of some close friends. And, of course, Daniel. One of my best friends came round the other night with wine and snacks, and we spent hours just chatting. She reminded me that I'm not being crazy or unreasonable for setting boundaries, and that it's okay to prioritize my mental health. It was exactly what I needed to hear. Even so, I can't completely shake the guilt. Part of me wonders if I'm being too inflexible, or if I should at least try to reconcile for my mother's sake. But then I think about how much effort I've put into healing over the years, and how far I'd be taking a step backwards if I were to allow Sarah back into my life without a genuine apology and without her taking responsibility. And, honestly, I don't think I'm capable of offering it. So here I am, caught in the middle of a storm I did not ask for. I stand firm in my decision, but the pressure is relentless. My mother is distant. Sarah plays the victim, and part of the family supports her. It's like I constantly have to defend myself for choosing peace over chaos. And it's exhausting. I keep wondering if I'm doing the right thing, but deep down I know I am. Now I'm wondering how to move forward. Should I write to Sarah and try to explain myself again? Or would that just open the door to more manipulation? And what about my mother? Is there any way to salvage our relationship without compromising my boundaries? Or is it a lost cause at this point? I'm trying to focus on my new life with Daniel, but the weight of all this family drama is hard to ignore. Thanks again for accompanying me through all of this. It helps more than you can imagine to have a space to share and receive comments. Update 3. After the family intervention and Sarah's letter, I tried to keep my distance. I focused on work, spent time with Daniel, and avoided my phone as much as possible. But as you can imagine, the drama didn't stop just because I ignored it. My mother kept calling and messaging, insisting that I at least listen to Sarah. She even proposed a smaller gathering with just the three of us, arguing that she was concerned the larger intervention had been too overwhelming for me. I declined again, politely but firmly, and thought that would be the end of it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Sarah had made another post, and this one was the most direct yet. She wrote something like, It's sad when people can't move on and keep clinging to grudges from the past. At some point, you have to wonder if they're just jealous or still obsessed with what they lost. Since then, I have blocked Sarah on all platforms, and I have told my mother that I will take a break from family events in the near future. I don't know if she will respect that boundary, but I am prepared to enforce it if she doesn't. Daniel has been my unconditional support through all of this, constantly reminding me that I have every right to protect my peace of mind and that I am not a bad person for walking away from toxic relationships. The irony is that I don't even feel angry anymore, just relieved. For the first time in years, I feel like I can focus on my own life without the constant shadow of family drama hanging over me. I have a wonderful husband, a group of supportive friends, and a future full of possibilities. Letting go of Sarah and the part of my family that refuses to respect me feels like a weight has been lifted that has been weighing me down for too long. Am I sad that it had to end like this? A little, but mainly, I'm relieved to have put an end to the drama. Life is too short to spend it tied to people who only cause you pain, no matter how much they claim to love you. If there's one thing I've learned through this whole experience, it's that choosing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Here's to moving on.